Because these teachings are very important. As a psychologist, when people come to me for psychotherapy, they're coming as the character that they learned to be. They're coming in character to the psychotherapy, and they're coming in character, and they're asking me to help them get out of suffering, whether that's depression or anxiety or worse, or relationship issues, or addiction, or difficulties with their body, physical pain, difficulty sleeping. There's all kinds of issues that people bring into psychotherapy. And one of the things that I have learned over the years of being a psychologist now for 45 years is that instead of just working with the personality and trying to help this person in character, as the character change the script sufficiently so that they can begin to experience some well-being, started to become apparent to me after I studied meditation and studied these teachings and got trained in various forms of meditation, that if I really wanted to serve people, what I needed to do was help them to discover that they're not the character that they're in script, that that's not what they are, that's not who they really are. And if they are willing to take a look and see that that's the case, then they can be in a position to experience freedom. They can be in a position that they can start to practice experiencing not being in the script, not being the character. So they could experience something that's natural, something that allows them to experience well-being spontaneously. This is very radical because most human beings think that well-being is something that you earn, something that you achieve, something that you have to work for, something that you have to accomplish. And according to the life of personalities, according to this movie we're all in called life, and according to the script we're all playing in this movie, the way to experience well-being is to get what you want. To fulfill your desires, to get what you want. And if you get what you want and you get enough of what you want, you'll be happy. That's called the pursuit of happiness. You're guaranteed the right to do that in the Constitution. And nobody ever notices the fact that if we're guaranteed the right to pursue happiness in the Constitution, it must mean that we're not happy. Why else would we want to have the right to pursue it? Right? So if we're not happy, don't you think it would be a good idea to talk about what's the cause of that instead of just pursuing it? How did we get here? How did we get in this condition called suffering? How did we get into this condition called neurosis? I really highly recommend that you look up the definition of neurosis in the dictionary. Because if you read that definition, that is a description of the personality. The personality is inherently neurotic. It's a mild form of mental illness. Personality is inherently neurotic. And if you look up the definition, it describes it to the T. Look it up and see if you can tolerate reading it. Because when you read it, it's a negative description. It's saying that this personality that you take yourself to be is in an unwell state. It's not in a state of well-being, it's in an unwell state. But don't worry, right? Because this is a secret. It's a secret, right? If you look up the definition of neurosis, it will tell you, it'll describe this unwell state, right? And it's a secret. Why do I say it's a secret? Because even though all of humanity suffers from this mental illness, right? Everybody calls it normal. Right? Everybody calls it normal. And because it's normal, if we're all crazy, none of us are crazy, right? What was that movie, Catch what?
Catch-22.
Catch-22. If I'm crazy and if I know I'm crazy, I'm not crazy, right? That's the situation with neurosis. If everybody's neurotic and we agree that that's the way we all are, that must be normal. So nobody's crazy, even though we're all crazy. That's crazy. Because I think if you believe you're something that you're not, that's a radical loss of reality, right? And most human beings believe that they're something that they're not. They believe that the script they were given as a child is what they really are. And they spend their entire life trying to get that to work, right? Trying to get the personality to work, trying to get this body to work They're trying to get it to fulfill on the potential, on the possibility that life makes available, which is called being happy, satisfied, peaceful, and happy. This is what everybody's striving for. This is what everybody goes to work for. This is what everybody gets married for. This is what everybody have kids for. This is what everybody buys cars for. This is what everybody buys houses for. This is what everybody tries to accomplish in life, is happiness and well-being. And if you look around at the evidence indicates one thing very clearly, and that's that this process that most of humanity is involved in order to experience the possibility of well-being and happiness is a failure. It's a failure. And the fact that it's a failure allows the economy to work. Because if it's a failure, then there are a lot of people who will continually show up in front of you telling you, wait a minute, try this. Wait a minute, if you eat this, if you do this, if you buy this, if you drive this, if you have this, you'll be happy. But in order to get all these things that we're here to sell you to make you happy, you have to have money, right? And so now money becomes the key to happiness, the key to success. And we are so entranced in that dream, we believe that so thoroughly, that we will be willing to make the person who is a billionaire the most powerful person in the world. We'll be willing to make a person who is a billionaire our leader, in spite of the fact they have no experience in politics whatsoever. But they must know how to be happy and how to fulfill on the pursuit of happiness because they're a billionaire. So they've made it. They've made it. So why shouldn't they lead us? So that's the road to hell. So if you have experimented with the possibility of pursuing happiness sufficiently and have failed sufficiently, maybe you want to consider that there is an alternative. Maybe you want to consider that there's this possibility, and it's a radical possibility, right? It's so radical that a lot of people refuse to even entertain it, right? And the radical possibility is that you're already happy and you don't know it. That's pretty radical, right? And for somebody that thinks they're not happy and they're trying to be happy, to hear that could either be very disturbing, or to hear that could be something that they discard right away and say, that's crazy. I don't believe that. Even though there are people on this planet who have practiced meditation, who have studied the teachings sufficiently and practiced meditation sufficiently, that they have woken up to their true nature, they've experienced being in this natural state, and they've experienced being calm, satisfied, peaceful, and happy. So they model it. There are models of this possibility walking around. So there's evidence for it. But it's not free lunch. And the thing that's radical about it, the thing that's most radical about it, is that it's already the case. There is an experience of what you are. There's an experience of what you are that's always been available to you in the background, has gone unnoticed by almost all of humanity. And that experience is a natural experience of well-being in which you're satisfied, happy, and content all the time. This experience is the experience of being the awareness that is your fundamental nature. It's there for all of us all the time. It's always been there ever since you were a baby. But when you were a baby, you didn't have the sophistication to enjoy it yet. You were being it 100%. But you didn't have the sophistication yet to enjoy it. So now you learn to be human, you learned your script, you've been playing the role in the movie you call your life up until now, and because you're pursuing happiness, which is the game that is being played in the movie, you probably have had enough experience to realize this is the wrong road. This is the wrong script. This isn't going to get you where you want to go. But we can't get rid of it. You can't get rid of the voice in your head. You can't stop being a personality. And that's not the point. We're not trying to stop being a personality. We're trying to just realize, we're trying to relax and allow ourselves to notice that our true nature is always in a state of well-being. This awareness that I'm referring to is always in a state of well-being. It has no form. If you look for yourself right now, because the awareness that I'm referring to is occurring for you as an experience right now as I speak to you. Therefore, it's possible for you to simply notice that there's awareness where you are. If I ask you if you're aware, the answer is obvious. You don't have to think about it, because your awareness is there prior to and during thought. So you don't have to think about it. All you have to do is look and see. It's the most obvious thing you could ever notice, is the fact that you're aware. So if you notice this awareness, if you look at it right now, what you will see when you look is that this awareness has no form. This awareness is not a male or female. It has no gender. This awareness is not a female or a male. It has no gender. It has no form. It's not going anywhere. It has no age. Yeah? So this awareness has been the same all along. If you look at this awareness, it's exactly the same now as it was when you were 5 years old. It never changes. One of the teachers calls it isness. No form, no gender, doesn't need anything, doesn't want anything. Why? Because it's satisfied in itself. It's satisfied in itself. It's content in itself. It's fulfilled in itself. It's peaceful as it is. And if you recognize this awareness and let go and allow yourself to relax into it and just rest as this awareness, you begin to experience a subtle shift in which it feels like there's some relief occurring, something let go, and there's this subtle shift, and it feels like there's this natural warmth of being, this natural contentment. It can't really be understood. It can't really be described successfully, but it's there all the time. It's been there all along. So meditation is an opportunity to begin to notice it. Begin to notice it and to begin to practice experiencing it consistently out of script. And if you can experience it consistently out of script, eventually you get to a point that even while you're in script, even while you're in the form of the person, you're experiencing yourself as the awareness. This is called the completion. In one of the highest truth teachings on the planet, right, the word that describes this teaching means the great completion. It means the great completion. Complete what? Complete the process of coming to know yourself as a physical body and a personality so that you can live in time and space and be in the world and experience a human life, which is incomplete because now you have taken on an identity outside of your natural state. So it's incomplete. And if you stay in that identity and continue to try and live your life and be happy from that identity, you will fail. Because the self-concept is a concept, it's not a reality. The identity you've taken on is not real. Therefore, it can never experience happiness. And it got put in front of what is real, which is your natural state, your true nature, where happiness is being experienced all the time. So by relaxing enough and seeing this for what it really is, seeing the personality for what it really is, knowing that it's not real, seeing that it's being generated in the thought activity all the time, you can begin to get access to a state that allows you to complete the process of being a human being. Completing the process means, okay, I've taken on the identity of being a physical body and a personality so I can be in time and space and function in the world, and I can play this game we're playing, right? But that's not sufficient for me to experience the fulfillment of this possibility. I have to go to the next step. The next step is realizing that my true nature is the nature that was the nature of the baby. But the baby didn't have language, and the baby wasn't able to live in this world because it needed to learn to be a personality first. So it learned to be a personality, right? And then it discovered its true nature is still there, even with the personality. And because now it's possible to experience its true nature, which is still there and never wasn't there, it becomes possible to be happy and be a personality in a natural way. You don't have to do anything. Just by waking up and beginning to experience your natural state more and more consistently, what will happen is you begin to see things as they are. That's called wisdom. When you wake up and you begin to experience your true nature, you begin to experience wisdom. What is wisdom? Wisdom is seeing things as they really are. How are things as they really are? They say that's the truth. The truth will set you free. What is the truth? What is the truth in terms of how things really are? Well, one of the things that the truth is the truth in terms of how things really are is the situation you and I are in is a very temporary situation. That's the truth. Most people are in denial of that. You know, we're so interested in how long we get to be here on this planet, right? That we pay a lot of attention to longevity, don't we? Yeah. Oh, if 70 is the new 50, right? Yeah. Maybe if I live to 100 years, I'll have enough time to be happy. Maybe I'll be able to get enough money together before I die to be happy, right? Maybe I'll be able to buy enough shit before I die to be happy, right? This is the game we're playing, you know, and if you see through it, if you see the truth, if you see through it, you realize this is not a good situation. This is a predicament that we're in here. So if you see things the way they are, you begin to see that life is a very temporary experience. We don't have time to mess around. We got to get on with this. We got to get past this identity and discover our true nature. That will be the completion. And once you're complete, then you can fully be here and experience the possibility of a human life, which almost 8 billion of people on this planet are not experiencing, and they don't know that. They're living in a nightmare. They're living in a dream. They're living in a situation that can never be fulfilled. That's why the Buddha said the source of suffering is desire. Because that's the condition human beings are living in. They're living in a condition of lacking and wanting, isn't it? Lacking and wanting. I'm not happy yet, but I'm watching TV to see what I can find that I can buy. Or I'm not happy yet, but I'm paying attention to all the females to see if I can find the right one to be with that she'll make me happy. She'll make me happy. Well, I thought that until we got married. Then after the honeymoon was over, I realized, oh shit, now what? This is a human life, right? And so this practice of meditation is a practice that if you understand what it makes possible for you to wake up and come out of this dream and realize happiness is something that you already have. You know, this is a natural experience that you're having all the time, this experience of well-being that's been happening in the background can now be moved to the foreground through the practice of formal and informal meditation. The formal practice of meditation is the practice of learning how to focus attention and hold attention where you choose to have it. Learning to use the opportunity when your attention is out of the thought activity to notice awareness and then let yourself fall into experiencing yourself as that awareness, resting as that awareness. Even for brief periods of time, the contact with it is enough for you to realize that it's there and that it's always there. You can develop certainty about that. And then after you do the formal practice consistently long enough that the body gets sufficiently relaxed and the mind gets sufficiently calmed down so that you can see beyond the screen of thinking all the time, then you're ready to do the informal practice, which means now you begin practicing all the time. Because if you want to experience the natural state consistently, that has to come into domination instead of the script you've been playing. And so to practice it all the time means in your everyday life, as often as possible, right, to allow yourself to rest as awareness for brief moments of time as often as possible. And if you begin practicing resting as awareness for brief moments of time as often as possible, that will start to break up the script. That will start to give you more time out of the script in your everyday life. And if you continue to do that, what will happen eventually was the resting as awareness that you were doing for moments at a time starts to become minutes at a time, starts to become hours at a time, starts to become days at a time, until it gets to the point where the awareness is so obvious that you no longer need to practice resting as it at all. You know yourself to be that at all times. And now you're in a state of well-being and you can go ahead and live your life and enjoy everything that's available in a human life. But now you're content and satisfied and peaceful, so you don't need anything because you're experiencing the natural state. And then you begin to experience what it's like to be in the natural state, what it's like to be what you actually are authentically. And part of that experience is an experience of wanting to share, of wanting to give, of wanting to be of use to other people. Because when you're in the natural state, you don't need anything. You're done. You're baked. You're complete. So now when you look around in the world, you see how many people are suffering because they don't know who they are. They don't know the truth. And so what you begin to do naturally, right, is become a model for reality. Because if you don't hear any teaching at all, and you just accept the fact that if I do that simple thing as often as I can every day, I will start to have revealed to me the way things really are, and I will start to experience a natural experience of well-being. And that's a revelation to a lot of people. It's a revelation to a lot of people because they say, oh, you mean I've been working this hard all my life to have this experience, and all the while I've had it, all the while it's been there, but I've been ignoring it? That's called ignorance. I've been ignoring it and paying attention to this voice in my head that's telling me how scary the world is and telling me how other people are not treating me right, telling me that I don't have yet what I really need to be happy. You mean I don't have to keep playing that game? I can start just relaxing and experiencing the natural state? And the answer is yes. But it's not free lunch because you're already in a condition. You're already in a condition. So the practice of meditation is not necessary to experience your true nature. Your true nature is already the case. The practice of meditation is to help you practice something to get out of identifying with the personality. That's all. Just moving your attention away from the thought process that is the language of the personality and start to realize the possibility of seeing things as they are. You know, one of the things somebody said to me at some point in regard to these teachings, oh, you can't just talk to people like there's some, that there's some spiritual reality. You have to meet people where they are. You have to talk to people where they are. Well, I practiced doing that for 35 years as a psychologist. It didn't make much difference. Then I realized I wasn't talking to people where they are. I was talking to people where they think they are and where they believe they are, and that's not where they are. Talk to people where they really are, to talk to people as the awareness itself. That's where they really are. One of my favorite teachers, Paul Hederman, he gives talks, truth talks. And after he gave one of his talks, one of the people came up to him and said, you know, Paul, I've listened very intently to what you've been saying, and it seems like it went right over my head. And Paul said, beautiful, that's where I was aiming. Why talk to you who thinks you're something that you're not? Where's that going to go? Why talk to you who believes that you're a body and you're a personality? Where's that going to go? Right? No, when I talk, I'm talking to who you really are. And if what I'm saying it seems to make sense to you, if what I'm saying seems to resonate with you, it's because you already know this. That's why. You already know this. It sounds right. It feels right because you already are what I've been talking about as the natural state. But seeing that, getting a glimpse of that is not going to change the experience you're having of your life on an everyday basis. You've got to practice your way out of that. You've practiced your way into that every single day. Starting in kindergarten, you practiced being the personality in the body, didn't you? Practice learning how to play the game of life with the other kids in the class, right? And then you grew up and, then it got serious. Yeah? And then we end up carrying the burden, the weight on our shoulders of all of this insanity that we're exposed to every day. It gets so bad that all we look forward to is to distract ourselves. And it gets so bad that all we want is prescriptions. And we're so happy that pot's legal. That's the life that most people are living, right? If you want to see what people are using to experience happiness, visit the liquor store. On a holiday, there ain't much on the shelves. So there's an opportunity here to wake up and come out of that situation and discover that you already have everything you need to be happy, fulfilled, satisfied, and at peace. And if you discover this and you're living in this experience, when it comes time for the body to drop, you'll be able to just relax and let go, because you'll have discovered that your true nature isn't physical. That's what Jesus Christ meant when he said, I offer you life everlasting. Right? Because your true nature, which is not physical, which is awareness itself, wasn't born and isn't going to die. Don't take my word for it. Find out for yourself.